At Saunders and Turner, we get a lot of questions about Chapter 13 bankruptcy. In Chapter 13, named for the chapter that this coverage of this law is found in the United States Bankruptcy Code, it is commonly called reorganizing debt, or the so-called repayment plan bankruptcy plan. In Chapter 13, if you find yourself in Chapter 13, it may be for a few reasons. You make too much money to file a Chapter 7, or you are trying to save the home, and a Chapter 7 really wouldn't save the home and you're behind on mortgage payments. Chapter 13 will force your creditors to accept a plan of repayment for less than you owe based upon your budget, a monthly payment. And what will happen is when you file a Chapter 13, you will file, and then about a month later or so, you'll find yourself in front of a trustee, where we will be presenting a plan to the trustee to repay your creditors, but not repay them 100%. It's paid back based upon your budget. What can you afford and still have some money to live, still have some discretionary income to live like a real person. So they can't take all of your money and apply it toward your debt. In Chapter 13, you can keep some assets, and we can talk about that. There are some exemptions. You can keep a car, you can keep your furnishings, you can keep some cash, some stock, you can keep some assets and still file bankruptcy. But do know in Chapter 13 you're going to repay back some of your creditors something. In Chapter 13, one of the advantages, you can lien strip a second mortgage on your home, especially in these times when there is no equity in our homes, and your mortgage, if your first mortgage is greater than the value of your home, and you have a second or a third or a so-called home equity line of credit, you can strip that in Chapter 13. And what that means, the theory goes that that lien is based upon equity that the lien holder had. In other words, if it was a $100,000 mortgage, I guess there are no $100,000 mortgages, but if there's a $100,000 mortgage, to keep the math easy, and $50,000 was your first and $50,000 was your second, and the home is worth $125,000, then both the first and the second are protected. They could foreclose on you if you go into default and finally the home gets foreclosed on. They could extinguish their liens. They could get paid what they lent you by selling the home. They're protected. They have a lien on the property. Well, in Bankruptcy Chapter 13, if your second mortgage is outside the value of the home, so again, using that same example, there's $50,000 first to $50,000 second, and the home is only worth $50,000. Well, the second has no equity. There's no lien there. And so the courts will allow us to petition the court to do what's called lien stripping. They'll strip that lien, and the judge will basically say, I'm sorry, second or HELOC, home equity line of credit, there is no equity for you, so therefore the lien does not exist anymore. You are not a secured creditor anymore, and we can make that debt go away. So that's in Chapter 13, and that's the two reasons that people want to file a Chapter 13. Either they made too much money for Chapter 7, they couldn't get total forgiveness in bankruptcy, so they're going to go bankrupt to stop lawsuits and all the stress, the financial stress that comes from why you're thinking about bankruptcy. And then 2, maybe to save the house, and then actually 3, it may be to wipe out a second mortgage.